Good evening. You're watching Brass Tacks. My name is Toya Singh. On tonight's show, we're going to be tracking the story of Navneet and Ravi Rana. They're a political couple in Maharashtra who continue to challenge the Maharashtra government. What started a few days ago as a threat to chant the Hanuman Chalisa outside the Chief Minister's house has now snowballed into a series of allegations against the Mumbai police and the government. Now, is this actually government overreach, as they're alleging, or is the Maharashtra government very much justified? We take a look at this entire story tonight. Right before that, two big cases of state governments cracking down on the individual have raised a storm. One is the one that we just discussed. But in both of these cases, we'll just take a look in a second. We just walked you through developments that were taking place in Maharashtra. But at the same time, there are actually two big cases of state governments cracking down on the individual that have raised a storm. And in both, the theme seems to be that of political vendetta underneath the garb of law and order. But that's exactly what we're going to be taking a deeper look at tonight. First, there is the case of Tajinder Bagga, where Punjab police, controlled by the Aam Aadmi Party, cracked down on the Delhi BJP spokesperson. Now, he continues to fight a battle in the court. In the second is the case that we've just talked about, that of the Rana duo, over chanting, as you might remember, as they threatened to do the Hanuman Chalisa outside the house of the Chief Minister. Now, the Rana's troubles are growing, with the BMC set to visit their residence tomorrow, even as they face added heat for violating bail conditions. Now, we're going to take a deeper look at their case in just a second. But first, we're going to give you a quick look at the story of Tajinder Bagga. Twists and turns very much continue in the case. And after Mohali, a court there issued an arrest warrant against Tajinder Bagga, the Punjab and Haryana High Court, in a midnight hearing, ordered the Punjab police to not arrest Bagga till May 10th, as another petition related to Bagga's arrest is pending before the High Court. Now, it's important to remember that Bagga has been accused of making multiple provocative statements against the Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, and also for participating in a demonstration right outside his house. We spoke to Tajinder Bagga on this entire issue. Take a look at what he had to say.
Bagga ji, कल मिडनाइट में हियरिंग हुआ पंजाब और हरियाणा हाई कोर्ट में, आपको थोड़े दिन के लिए राहत मिली है. आपका फर्स्ट रिएक्शन क्या होगा इस बात पर कि एटलीस्ट ट्यूसडे तक, एटलीस्ट 10th of May तक आपके खिलाफ कोई अरेस्ट नहीं हो सकता है?
नहीं, मुझे भारत के संविधान पे पूरा भरोसा है, मुझे न्यायालय पे पूरा भरोसा है, और मुझे पूरी उम्मीद थी कि इसी प्रकार का फैसला आएगा, और मुझे पूरी उम्मीद है आगे भी इसी प्रकार का फैसला आने वाला है. अरविंद केजरीवाल अगर वो सोचते हैं कि वो देश के कानून से बड़े हैं, अगर अरविंद केजरीवाल सोचते हैं वो डॉक्टर बाबा साहब भीमराव अंबेडकर से बड़े हैं, तो मैं उनको चुनौती देता हूं, ये उनकी भूल है. कल उनका जो दम्भ है पिछले 2 दिन में 10 बारी टूटा है, 10 तारीख को दोबारा टूटे.
आपकी स्ट्रैटेजी क्या होने वाली है इस समय, क्योंकि आम आदमी पार्टी ने यह तय क्लियरली बता दिया है कि वो पीछे हटने नहीं वाले हैं आपके खिलाफ मुकदमा चलाने से?
निश्चित रूप से पीछे नहीं हटना चाहिए. मुझे तो लगता है 100 कदम और आगे बढ़ना चाहिए, 100 FIR करनी चाहिए, 1000 FIR करनी चाहिए, और हम हर FIR का जवाब देंगे, हम हर चीज का जवाब देंगे. अरविंद केजरीवाल अब सोचते हैं वो संविधान से बड़े हो गए, अरविंद केजरीवाल सोचते हैं वो डॉक्टर बाबा साहब भीमराव अंबेडकर से बड़े हो गए. तो उनको कहना चाहता हूं, एक नहीं 1000 FIR करना, तब भी नहीं डरने वाले. इसी प्रकार से आपसे सवाल पूछेंगे, इसी प्रकार से आपको एक्सपोज करते रहेंगे.
क्या आप महसूस कर रहे हैं कि आप टारगेट किया जा रहा है, आपके खिलाफ एक षड्यंत्र है? अगर ऐसी बात है तो आप ही को क्यों टारगेट कर रही है दिल्ली और पंजाब की सरकारें?
सिर्फ मुझे टारगेट नहीं कर रही है, मेरे अलावा नवीन कुमार पे एक कंप्लेन की, एफआईआर की, प्रीति गांधी पे एफआईआर की, डॉक्टर कुमार विश्वास पे एफआईआर की, कांग्रेस की नेता अलका लांबा के ऊपर एफआईआर की। तो अरविंद केजरीवाल के पास नई नई पुलिस पहुंची है और वो उसका प्रयोग करना चाहते हैं। वो ये दर्शाना चाहते हैं कि अरविंद केजरीवाल इस देश के सबसे बड़े पीर है, फकीर है, और अरविंद केजरीवाल के खिलाफ कोई भी बोलेगा तो उस पर एफआईआर होगी। अगर आपके पास एफआईआर की कॉपी है, मेरा आपसे निवेदन है कि उस एफआईआर को जूम करके सारे देश के व्यूअर्स को दिखाया जाए, जरूर दिखाया जाए। उस एफआईआर के अंदर क्या लिखा है कि मैंने कहा कि कश्मीरी पंडितों के नरसंहार के ऊपर जो उन्होंने कहा कि फिल्म झूठी है, अगर अरविंद केजरीवाल ने देश के हिंदुओं का जो वो है, क्योंकि इस देश के 1947 के बाद वो सबसे बड़ा नरसंहार था जिसमें 5 लाख लोगों को अपने घर से बाहर जाना पड़ा, आज भी वो घर से बाहर है। तो मैंने उनसे कहा कि इसके ऊपर वो माफी मांगे। अगर वो माफी नहीं मांगते तो भारतीय जनता युवा मोर्चा उनको जीने नहीं देगा और तब तक प्रदर्शन जारी रखेगा जब तक वो माफी नहीं मांग लेंगे। तो पीछे का और आगे का पार्ट काट दिया गया और सिर्फ एक लाइन को रखा गया, युवा मोर्चा केजरीवाल को जीने नहीं देगा।
अगर मानो कोर्ट से आपसे बोला जाए कि ठीक है, आप इस बात पर बस खेद प्रकट कर ले कि ठीक है, मेरा कोई ऐसा इंटेंशन नहीं था, मेरे जो कमेंट थे उसको मिस इंटरप्रेट किया देते, तो क्या आप माफी मांगने या खेद प्रकट करने के लिए तैयार है बग्गा जी?
माफी मांगने का सवाल ही पैदा नहीं होता, क्योंकि मैंने कुछ गलत कहा नहीं है। मैं तो अरविंद केजरीवाल को कहता हूं, अरविंद केजरीवाल क्यों ये कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि मैं अरविंद केजरीवाल से रोज सवाल पूछता हूं। अरविंद केजरीवाल जब सरकार के लिए, पंजाब सरकार का चुनाव लड़ रहे थे, चुनाव चल रहे थे पंजाब के, उन्होंने कहा था, विधानसभा के जो चुनाव चल रहे थे, उन्होंने कहा था कि 24 घंटे के अंदर मैं उन दोषियों को जेल की सलाखों के पीछे डालूंगा जिन्होंने गुरु ग्रंथ साहब जी की बेदबी की। मैं उनसे रोज सवाल पूछता हूँ, सारा 2 महीने हो गए, तो वीडियो अवेलेबल है, मेरे आरोप नहीं है, वीडियो अवेलेबल है। अगर आप मेरे ट्विटर की टीएल पे जाएंगे, क्योंकि पिछले 5-7 दिन से तो मेरा फोन पंजाब पुलिस की कस्टडी में, मैंने इसलिए ट्वीट नहीं किया, लेकिन आप उससे पहले जाएंगे, स्क्रॉल करेंगे तो आपको मेरे ट्विटर पे मिल जाएगा। मैं रोज वो वीडियो दिखाता हूँ और अरविंद केजरीवाल जी से पूछता हूँ, आपने 24 घंटे के अंदर जेल की सलाखों में डालना था, आज तक क्यों नहीं डाला?
क्या आपको लग नहीं रहा है कि एक वेंडेटा पॉलिटिक्स से कोई भी सरकार हो, चाहे बीजेपी की हो, कांग्रेस की हो, आम आदमी पार्टी की हो, शिवसेना की हो, कोई भी सरकार की हो, कि वेंडेटा पॉलिटिक्स ऐसे तरीके से हो कि पुलिस को अपने एक पर्सनल सेना के जैसे सरकार यूज करने लग गया है?
देखिए, अगर आप पुलिस का, कानून का मिसयूज करेंगे तो आपको मुंह की खानी पड़ेगी, चाहे वो नवनीत राणा जी का केस हो, चाहे वो अमन चोपड़ा जी का केस हो। ये केस अदालत में ठहरते नहीं है। आप देखिए किस प्रकार से 1 हफ्ते के अंदर वो केसों पे स्टे लग गया, या पुलिस को अपना स्टेप वापस करना पड़ा। लेकिन मैं इसमें पुलिस की गलती नहीं मानता हूं। देखिए, जिस भी राज्य की सरकार है वो उसके ऊपर उसको मिसयूज कर रहा है। आज भगवंत मान तो बेचारे, वो तो सीएम ही नहीं है, वो तो आधे सीएम है, चलो मैं उनको, उनकी भी क्या गलती मानूं। वो तो आज अरविंद केजरीवाल कहते हैं भैया खड़े हो जाओ, तो वो खड़े हो जाते हैं, वो कहते हैं बैठ जाओ, उठक बैठक करो तो उठक बैठक करते हैं। तो मैं भगवंत मान की भी गलती नहीं मानता हूँ, वो बेचारे तो खुद विक्टिम है। वो तो उनको दिल्ली से जो आदेश आता है वो कहते हैं हाँ जी सर, हाँ जी सर, हाँ जी सर, हाँ ठीक है सर, कर देता हूँ। तो बेचारे भगवंत मान की भी गलती नहीं है। अरविंद केजरीवाल जैसे उनको चला रहे हैं वैसे वो चल रहे हैं। तो मुझे लगता है कि इस प्रकार की चीजें, क्योंकि अगर आपने देखा कि किस प्रकार से वारंट मेरे खिलाफ 4 बजे जब जारी कराया गया, तो 4 घंटे में नहीं रुक सका, हाईकोर्ट ने उसमें स्टे लगा दिया। ये दर्शाता है कि इस देश के अंदर कानून बचा हुआ।
Bagga was in a push and pull that involved 3 different states yesterday. A lot of drama that we'll continue to bring you updates on. We'll also look for a response from the Aam Aadmi government. But we'll move very quickly on from that story now to our main story of the night. There seems to be no respite, as we've just discussed, for the independent MP Navneet Rana and her husband, the independent MLA Ravi Rana. The public prosecutor who's representing the police in the case against the Ranas has now confirmed that he's going to be moving to cancel their bail for violating court orders. We'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a second. But as per sources, the Ranas have said that they're going to be heading to Delhi tomorrow to brief the Ministry of Home Affairs about the sedition charges. They've also said that they're going to be talking about what they're calling vendetta politics on the hand of the Maharashtra government. Tomorrow, also, the BMC is slated to take action. We're learning that team members from the BMC are going to be visiting their residence on Monday to probe a possible illegal construction. First, I'd like you to take a look at what Navneet Rana had to say about the Uddhav Thackeray government and her reasoning for why she spoke to the media. Then we'll move on.
The way they have treated me from the lockup to the jail, it is, they have crossed all the limit of Hitler-shy, what they have treated with me in the jail, and for one night, they have not provided me a single mat to sit on it in the lockup. But I challenge Uddhav Thackeray, from any constituency he select in Maharashtra, I'll stand in front of him and I contest the MP election in front of him, and then he'll come to know what is the power of a common person. पहले मुझे जिस तरीके का जो ऑर्डर हमारे न्यायालय ने दिया है उसका मैं सम्मान करती हूँ, आदर करती हूँ, इसलिए उस पर्टिकुलर केस पे मैं कुछ बात नहीं करूँगी.
All right, that is the independent MP Navneet Rana. Now, before we go ahead, because I have 4 panelists joining me today for this conversation that we're about to have, I want to lay out for you what the facts, what we do know is in this story. Firstly, this is a couple that said they would chant the Hanuman Chalisa outside the Chief Minister's house. They were arrested by the police on the 23rd of April for, in the police's words, creating a challenge to the law and order situation in the state. Now, this past Wednesday, they were granted bail on a number of conditions. One of those conditions was that they not speak to the media about the case. They did speak to the media. And now the public prosecutor says that he's going to take them back to court. I'm going to very quickly run you through the guests that we have with us here on the show. We have Rajeev Pandey. He's from the Maharashtra BJP. He's a spokesperson. We have Kishore Tiwari. He's a Shiv Sena leader. We have Swapnil Kothari. He's a senior advocate. And we also have with us Sudhir Suryavanshi. He's an author. I'd like to first say good evening to all 4 of you. Thank you so much for joining us here on the show. Swapnil, I'm going to come over to you first. Before we attack the actual meat of our larger conversation, I want to understand from you. One of the bail conditions, as we've just shared with our audiences, was that the Ranas could not talk to the media. Since they've been out on bail, they've already spoken twice. Now, tell me, do they stand in violation of their bail conditions? I know that Navneet Rana is arguing that she hasn't spoken about the case itself, but we've seen her statements. Where do you stand on this?
Well, I think what happens here is that Navneet has spoken, I believe, about the case, and possibly even Mr. Ravi Rana has done. And it is a clear violation. Now, to cut this long story short, it is a little inappropriate or, infructuous for any public prosecutor to go to court of law and say that, look, this is a contempt of court. Because what they're going to do is that, sorry, we apologize, we were caught up in the heat of the moment, and the court will let them off. The court is not going to do anything. So it is an infructuous exercise on the part of the public prosecutor to go ahead and file contempt of court proceedings. But there is one thing, Joya, I don't like, that when you have a certain bail condition that has been attached to you, and if it's given by the Bombay High Court, then why do you want to do this? Why do you want to even speak to the media? You should just stay away from it. Give the respect to the court's order. Now, I understand that you may be frustrated that these charges are, inappropriate, or they should not have been. It's vendetta politics, and they should not have been levied upon you. And, you just wanted to chant the Hanuman Chalisa. I think, the court clearly knows, both you and I also do, that it is not just the chanting of Hanuman Chalisa which invited, the wrath of the government. It is, my principle is very clear to you in this, that if you don't like the chief minister, or if you don't like some of his activities, then there is a way, there is a method. You can write a letter to him, you can put it in the press, you can write 10 letters to him. But to say that I want to do this before your house is something which is inappropriate. And that is exactly what the court had pointed out when they refused bail in the first instance, the lower court, rather even the high court at that time. So now when it was heard, finally they said that, okay, these are the bail conditions, because there is up to a point that you can incarcerate a person. Because your freedom of movement is not something which is subject to the whims and fancies of the state action. Eventually, after some time, the state cannot justify your custody, and it cannot say that, okay, you're going to run away, or you have a flight risk, or you're not going to tamper with the evidence or something of that sort.
Right.
Then obviously you will be granted bail, and which is exactly what the High Court did. So my take on this is very simple, that first of all, the act itself of challenging was wrong. Be that as it may, the government should have been a little bit more mature and said that, okay, at best, what are you going to do? You're going to chant, right? Go ahead and chant as much as you want. In any way beyond 10 p.m., you cannot chant. That's another way of looking at it. The other thing is that, secondly, when you have been let off on bail, you are unnecessarily going ahead and provoking the High Court. You are unnecessarily inviting the undue attention of the High Court. Do not invite that, because then, the case then tends to wither a little bit. Of course, the court will reprimand you and you'll apologize on an affidavit and, they'll let you off. But why do this? Being an MLA, you are supposed to have more credence for the rule of law. Why do you do this? You've been given a bail. Why do you want to do this? This is something which I don't understand. You have an umbrage against the government. You have an aberration. You feel that you have been victimized. There are other ways of doing it, as and when you seek the permission of the court, go back to the court and say that, look, I want to publish this or I want to write this, can I do this? I'm sure the court is not going to say no, because you are allowed to vent, your side of the story to a media if you want to, but you seek the court's permission for that. Let the bail order, let some time pass, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then you do it. Immediately after the bail is given in 2-3 days, you start doing this. Which government will not be irate? And here I'm more concerned about the court rather than the government.
All right, Swapnil, stay with us for just a second. I'm going to come back to you to ask you more of your opinions, but I want to first, for our audiences, explain something quite important to understand in this story. In Maharashtra, in the government in power, you have the Maharashtra Vikas Aghadi. That's a three-party alliance, the Shiv Sena, the NCP and the Congress. In opposition, you have the BJP. Now, we're going to come back and try to understand more, but the reason I'm telling you this is because Navneet Rana and Ravi Rana are both independents. They don't align with any party. But you have Rajeev Pandey. He's with us. He's the Maharashtra BJP spokesperson. So I'm going to come to you next. A little while earlier on our channel, we had Ram Kadam, the BJP spokesperson. He actually spoke to us. And one of the things he said that he would, and the BJP party would support these two in whatever actions they chose to take. Now, we know already that tomorrow they are coming to Delhi. They're going to be meeting with important leaders from the Home Ministry. Tell me, why is the Home Ministry stepping in this way?
First of all, I would like to comment on the case, what my friend Swapnil has stated.
All right.
He's a dear friend of mine. The issue is that his case, the case against him is creating enmity between the communities, two communities, and second case is against the waging war to the nations. He has not talked anything about the merit of these two cases, two issues. He is talking about the political issues. I am nobody to say whether whatever they said that I want to chant Hanuman Chalisa in front of the house of the CM, that is their personal choice and they are facing the case, whatever it is. But the basis is, can Maharashtra government file a case against a person who says that I want to recite Hanuman Chalisa, and that too against the MLA and MPs for saying this and waging war to the nation. So that people of the Maharashtra has to see that. Now your second leg of question is that why they are coming and they are asking, meeting the Home Ministry.
Rajiv, stay with us for just a second. Stay with us for just a second. I want to actually play out for our audiences what Ram Kadam had to say a little while earlier today to our reporter. Then I'll come back to you in a second.
Sir, tell us, how are they feeling? What did you have to say to them? What sort of support are you providing?
See, first of all, we do not support any individual or any individual party. Yes. Whatever issues raised by Mrs. Navneet Rana and Mr. Navneet Rana, those are related to Hindutva, and definitely we are supporting those issues. The way Maharashtra government misused police power and lodged FIR against them. So this government has been misusing police force to suppress opposition voice. For what reason?
They are going to Delhi now. Can we expect to see some action from the centre? Will the centre step in this entire controversy?
See, central government is a transparent government and she is an honourable member of parliament. If she requires any support, definitely government will support them.
All right, Ram Kadam saying if she requires any support, definitely the government will support them. Rajeev Pandey, that's what I wanted to come to you and ask you more about. Do tell us.
No, you see, if one parliament of member of parliament is subjected to some inhuman situation, that the speaker will look into that matter. And if they have any other problem, you can also go and talk to the Home Ministry.
Sure, but her allegations, one second, sir, her allegations against the police where she has made those multiple claims of inhumane treatment, one second, those claims have not been proven yet, sir, right? So why is Ram Kadam then coming forward and saying that the BJP support is behind her?
Nothing is proven. Even the charge against the Navneet Rana and harassment is also not proven.
Right.
What I am trying to say, if suppose that information is given, then the central government may ask some information, may ask some explanation. What is the process of law? You have to ask explanation. If suppose some police officer has misbehaved, then the higher officials will be asked what is the actual situation. That at least some inquiry can take place whether something has happened or not. But the larger question is, the political question is that why MBA government is so worried? They said that we want to chant Hanuman Chalisa in front of the house of the Honorable CM of Maharashtra. They didn't even reach there.
Sir, but what I'm
They
curious
were at their
about is
home.
how is the centre looking to get involved in this state story?
No, you understand. If suppose somebody is not getting justice, then somebody can approach any government, a state as well as central government. Like if you do not get justice, you go to High Court under 226. You can go to under 32 also to the Supreme Court of India.
All right.
What is wrong in that?
Sir, stay with us for just a second. I'm going to go over now to Kishore Tiwari from the Shiv Sena. Mr. Tiwari, I'm going to come to you. I'm going to ask you to respond to everything you've just heard. But before you do, I do want to ask you one question from my own first. We've seen police action take place in the last few days. If we don't question any of that, perhaps, and we lay it aside, I do want to ask you, sir, the BMC and the action that we've seen from the BMC, where the BMC has issued a notice. They've said we're going to come and check the Rana's house for illegal construction. And we're seeing it obviously happen at the same time as all of this police action. Sir, as a bystander and as a citizen, you'll understand why people are raising questions.
It is, you may be right, but it's a routine checkup of the BMC where there is a complaints of encroachment. They go and look at it. If there is no encroachment, they have not taken the rules in their hand and they are not constructed illegally, there won't be anything. But what Swapnil Kothari has spoken, Swapnil Kothari, the order is from the Honorable Judge, Session Court Judge Rahul Ropde, and the whole bail is conditional. The first condition is that there should not be any provocation, and they should not continue this program of chanting the Hanuman Chalisa before the resident. What she replied, she told that not for 14 days, if I am put into imprisonment for 14 years, I will continue to do that.
Right.
I think this amounts to the cancellation of bail. Whereas speaking to the media related to this event and all these things will amount to the cancellation of bail. This is the order. And what police prosecutor will do, he will bring the fact to the notice of the same session court. Let us see if the session court cancel the bail or not. But the Rajeev Pandey, who is supporting Navneet Rana, Ram Kadam, who is saying that BJP is supporting to them. Let us see if they are supporting such type of actions, because they are the lawmakers. They cannot go to the CM house like this. But what's the plan? What the plan Navneet Rana has declared in Amravati, that the CM is not working. There is a Sadesati of Shani to the CM, and she is going with her husband to do some puja and to Graha Dasha for changing the Graha Dasha. This is all ridiculous. In fact, the provocation should not be there. She has been provocating. Out of proportion, she has complained against police.
Mr. Tiwari, 1 second. I'm not taking away from any of the accusations that you're making on the show. But what I am asking you is, when we're seeing action from the BMC, that's my question to you. This is the Maharashtra government. This is a government that claims to operate according to law and order. This is a government that multiple times has said that the BJP is overreaching in multiple areas. Tell me then, why are they doing this? Why are we seeing this action from the BMC at this time? It's very hard to believe that this isn't government motivated.
No, they are free to go to the court of law. If the action is vindicative, that will be rectified. But if anybody is doing the illegal construction, if you say the BMC should not take the action because they are just doing the wild allegations against the CM, or they are agitating against the CM, the two different things and two different bodies are there.
All right, Mr. Tiwari, do stay with us just a
accountable to
second.
their actions.
Do stay with us. Just for our audiences, if you might remember, we have one more guest with us right now, Sudhir Suryavanshi. Sudhir, thank you so much for staying on and listening to that entire conversation. I do want to ask you one point here. As this entire controversy has played out over the last few weeks, there's a point that you hear brought up again and again by critics and experts of this entire story. The comment you hear is that both Navneet Rana and Ravi Rana, her husband, they're being used as pawns by the BJP, and that through this entire saga, the Shiv Sena is being forced to take a side. I want to understand where you stand on that entire argument.
See, this is not the case where we stand, but we need to understand that, all things behind this case. Why, suddenly nobody knows Navneet Rana and Ravi Rana, 15 days ago. They suddenly came in the scene, in Maharashtra politics. They were elected representative, but they were not so much vocal against any government. Actually, if you see the track record of the Ravi Rana, who is the independent MLA, he always with the government in Maharashtra. For example, he was with Devendra Pandey, the previous government. Before that, he was with Ashok Chauhan when he was the chief minister of the Maharashtra. So he was always with the government. The first time he is against the incumbent government. The reason for that is that his wife, who has won the Lok Sabha election by slender margin, that is 36,000, votes against the 5-time, MP of Shiv Sena, Anand Adsur. So next time, if they want to win the election, that time they have to need BJP support. Because in 2019, Congress and NCP has extended support to them. Therefore, that Navneet Rana has won the election. Now Congress and NCP will not no more support them. So they desperately need the support of the BJP, and Ravi Rana also need the BJP. Therefore, they are playing, I think, in the hand of the BJP. But I think they are extra, they are playing more extra things, and I think they are facing, because of that, their extra political activities. They stay in Amravati. They can do all politics there. They can, develop, expand their constituency, all these things. But they are doing politics in Mumbai. It shows that their intention is not only, limited to Amravati. They want to expand their base. And somebody must be, prompting to them. Somebody must be instructing to them. Even the Navneet Rana was in hospital, we have seen who visited her first day, second day. So that is most important. We need to understand between the lines what is happening, so that gives the entire story to us. Besides, the witch hunt is there. Witch hunt is there from this side also, that side also. If you have seen the ED, income tax, CBI, all the central agencies has slap notice, arrested 2 ministers. One is Home Minister, Anil Deshmukh, second is Nawab Malik, and 13 ministers already under the radar of the central agencies. Other side, if you see, Narayan Rane was arrested for a day, then Navneet and Ravi Rana were arrested for 14 days.
Sudhir, I'm so sorry. I am going to have to ask you to wrap up right now. To all our panelists, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this evening, bringing us your perspective on this story as it develops, a quickly developing story in Maharashtra. We're going to continue to bring you updates as the public prosecutor decides to take this to court once again tomorrow. Right now, it's time for a short break. On the other side, we're going to be tracking a very different story. Do join us in just a second.